Enzo, I want to play a game.
Holy shit.
You have a YouTube channel where you can communicate exactly what you want anytime. I have a request. Make a Pitchfit and pitch a Saw video game in under 5 minutes. If you can do that before the timer strikes 5 minutes, your head might be intact. Fail to do so, and the camera might catch an eye-opening experience. Live or die. The choice is yours.
Well, if I've only got 5 minutes, this is a great time to do a Saw game for a pitch fit, and I know the Billy Puppet probably already mentioned it, but that's what we're gonna do today. Since my clock is ticking, let's try to get this done as quickly as possible so that I don't die. There's only been 2 Saw games. One, which was pretty good, and then Flesh and Blood, which was, to me, a cheap carbon copy remake. But what I will say is that at least in the first game, you got a really good atmosphere for what type of game the Saw franchise could take. And if there will be a Saw game, we don't want the little campaign, or at least I don't want the little campaign. But what I do want is both single and multiplayer with a little bit of a twist. So picture this, if you will, a video game where you have to survive mazes and puzzles cooperatively with friends in both team deathmatch, free-for-all, and passive modes. And what is the biggest kicker? The level editor. I feel like I'm speeding into this a little bit too much, so let me explain. Level editors are the best parts of any games, whether good or bad. We can thank Portal, we can thank Far Cry, we can thank a bunch of different ones. Halo Reach was probably the first time that I ever played with a level editor called Forge. And when you really dig down into it, being Jigsaw, quote unquote, and making your own traps and your own mazes for other people to explore, rate maps, die. They can do so many things with those possibilities that it almost seems like a missed opportunity that nobody has made a Saw game yet, and nobody even talks about a Saw game or potential Saw games that contain level editors, let alone traps. So how do you do that? How can you make your own traps? Yada, yada, yada. We've already gone into the concept of, okay, we can kind of map out however we want, a couple stories up, couple stories down, whatever, and make a maze that's interesting. So when it comes to traps, we could have some iconic ones from the films, but to solve them is always a different type of puzzle, different complexities of puzzles, and codes and little things that the creator of the map can leave around for people to kind of decipher. Think of it as like a strategy puzzle game, but there's also the third person element of like, okay, I have to kind of survive and run around. I don't want to compare every third-person game that feels open world to GTA, but think the GTA of a Saw game. And of course, you can always spawn in NPCs and whatnot just to kind of flesh it out. What would the NPCs' purposes be? Oh, well, they can simply be the same as the first 2 Saw games, where their survival depends on killing you, the player. And then depending on what mode you're playing as well, also spices the game up a little bit. I've actually written this down before, so I kind of have an idea of what they would look like. So your main mode would essentially be the 5 victims max, just trying to get through about 3 puzzles, with the third one being whatever is going to kill you. Whether you have to find an antidote to a poison, or you have a reverse bear trap on your head, or something of the sort, shotgun collar perhaps, you have 15 minutes to get that shit off of you. But you have to go through the first trap, the second trap, and about 2 mazes in between before you can get to the third trap, which is essentially yours. And the puzzles can be anything from what we've seen in the games before to new ones. They can be pattern puzzles. They can be little lock, jiggle feature things like whenever you lockpick in a game, you know what I'm talking about. So not only are you going through puzzle traps to try to get your way out, you have the environmental NPCs that are trying to beat the shit out of you and kill you so that they survive. And there's a couple different versions of those, like in most games. I feel like my hair's in my face. You know, you got like the NPCs that charge at you, the ones that throw shit at you, the ones that just straight up come and run at you. They're gonna be scattered around the map and they're all just desperate to survive, so you kind of just have to kill them. But there's also going to be environmental traps, whether that be little wires that you accidentally hit and now a shotgun's in your face, or a saw blade that happens to, I don't know, shoot through the wall, maybe? I've detailed them a lot more in the paper, so it's kind of hard when I can't get my hands out of the chair. But moving on, a free-for-all. Again, 5 victims max, you're all trying to get out of there, except this time instead of working together, you can all also kill each other. And then there's team deathmatch, which eliminates one player to make it even, but It can always be odd numbers of teams, whether that's one player on one side and two on the other, or a 1v1 or a 2v2, it's a team-based thing. Of course, I already mentioned the level editor, which in and of itself would be such a great undertaking for the franchise of Saw. This alone could extend the game's lifetime for countless of years. Not to mention that there would be characters and there would be character customization, like different versions of dirty, tattered clothes, or maybe masks that Jigsaw puts on his characters, which would be really cool. I'm sure you can see it right there, what I'm talking about, when I drew it out. I fucking love customization in games. But when it comes down to it, there are offline modes, AI modes, single player modes, mostly just missions that you would want to play to unlock characters and or cosmetics, but they're there if you need them. Well, the gun didn't go off, so I guess I'm in the clear. Thank you guys so much for watching my little pitch fit, which is always just me rambling about an idea that I had in an existing IP. Hope you liked it. Share it, perhaps. Subscribe, perhaps. Maybe. I have social media in all my links. And yeah, I'm just waiting to get out of this chair.